You're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Check, check, 1, 2. Hope you like a little country, some rock and roll and blues, 'cause we sure love playing for good people like you. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.
Welcome to Music Local and Sustainable, the radio show that features discussions with and the music of local musicians. I am your host, Dave Lake. Tonight, we are with XuluProphet. That's Zulu Jones, guitar, Oshin Daly, guitar, and Rhett Coleman on percussion. I've heard a lot of descriptions of this band, but I like to call it a high-octane, groove and political-laden party music. In other words, it's the only band that you can dance to a political revolution with. Welcome, members of XuluProphet.
What's up, man? How you doing, Dave?
That's one of my favorite descriptions yet.
It is.
It's really interesting because that was the reaction that I got from other people around me when they said, man, I'd really like to dance to this. And you're talking about songs like Recession Blues, and people want to get up and dance. And with this new song, Land of the Slave, Home of the Thief, very political. If you sit back and listen to the lyrics, it is so cool, but you can get up and dance to it.
Well, they said the revolution will not be televised. They never said that
it wouldn't be broadcast.
Broadcast and dance to. Yeah. So we have three members of the band here. Let's get to know the members a little bit. First, Zulu Jones. You're from New York.
From the Bronx.
From the Bronx.
Yep. Left there in the late 80s, moved to North Carolina, spent 20-something years there, came to Georgia. Been playing music almost 30 years. In some form or another. I had a good 10-year run with a reggae band out in North Carolina called Imani. Met these guys and now we're doing this.
Oshin, how did you get to Savannah from Ireland?
I met a girl. She came here to go to SCAD, fell in love with the place, with the architecture. I came for a visit, decided I could live here too, and then we got married. That's the short version of the story.
Oh, it's a short version.
Well, maybe we'll have time for the long version.
It was all very impromptu. It was kind of an impulsive decision, but I ended up here.
And she's an artist as well. You can see her work at a Lantos Sketch. She does these beautiful architectural designs and paintings and drawings. Check it out. She's a good artist.
And you did music in Ireland before you came here?
Yeah, I've been playing guitar since I was about 12 or 13. I took some music technology in university. That's when I got into production and the more technical side of things. I spent a couple of years after that in the Great Recession in Ireland. Just couldn't find a job, so I just stayed inside working on learning how to make beats and electronic music and tried to fuse it all together. I was playing in a band for a little bit before I came over here in Cork called Voodoo Nation, and then when that band broke up I was kind of at a loose end, and that's how I ended up over here.
And what kind of music did Voodoo Nation do?
It started off as kind of pop rock, but then it kind of turned more into kind of electro pop rock almost. Very 80s influence, lots of synthesizers.
Some of those songs did make it into this catalog though, right?
No. Some of the songs we play in this band I used to play back when I lived in Canada, like a long time ago.
Yeah,
in fact, Recession Blues was mostly written by a friend of mine called Royalty. He's still living up there playing music, I believe. But he's supportive of us. He's happy that he wrote such a good song that we're still singing it.
Oh, and it's a funny story how that song got written.
How did that song get written?
I mentioned the Great Recession. After the crash of 2008, I was actually living up there. All of a sudden, all the little jobs that I was surviving on dried up. One of our buddies had a painting business, and he gave us a few hours, and we were out standing a fence some hot day, and we were sitting there standing the fence, and we were just feeling we had shoes were falling apart. We barely had enough money to eat, and we were just really upset, pissed off, and just we decided to write a song about it. I was like, you know, we should write a song called Recession Blues. And he just came up with the first verse right there. And
I ain't got no money. I got holes in my shoes.
the initial line was I ain't got no shoes, but then we kind of were like, that's not really very truthful. We do have shoes, we just have holes in them. So.
Tonight, we are with XuluProphet. That's Zulu Jones, guitar, Oshin Daly, guitar, and Rhett Coleman on percussion. And Rhett, listeners to this show will remember Rhett from a previous incarnation and a very different band. Different band.
Very, very much different, yeah.
My Maiden Name was the name of the band.
I'm actually born and raised in Savannah. I'm not sure if I said that on that previous interview or not, but I've been friends with these guys for a few years now. Helped with the open mic at Barrel House every other Wednesday for a couple of years now, and I've sat in with them in the past when they were in between drummers, when I was busy with bands like My Maiden Name and a few others. When My Maiden Name decided to take a hiatus, these were the first guys I kind of let know, like, hey, I'm going to have some free time coming up, and they jumped right on it. So, but it's been a challenge and a new style. Reggae is definitely a newer set of skills to add to it, but I enjoyed the challenge of it.
That's one of the really great things about this band, is because you hear that insistent reggae beat, but it's sonically very different. And so it sort of envelops you, but you got that consistent beat behind.
Oshin and I both had a real love for world music before we met. When we started, it was just me and him. It was two guitarists trying to cover all these grounds. There were times when both of us were playing rhythm. And I think our love of reggae kind of like pushed some of the songwriting into that. But the cool thing is that because Rhett has these other genres that he's spent more time in, we can have an explosive moment where we're playing something that's not very reggae sounding, that's more along those hippie drugs and psychedelic vibe. And he can explode with something that sounds like Tool or System of a Down. One of his favorite drummers, Talk. And just this other thing, and then bring it back to this very familiar but very driving roots reggae beat, a dancehall beat or something like that.
Going back to that description that you had also, I think is something that kind of hits the nail on the head. I think for what part of our mission is to say important things but do it in a way that people want to move to it. Kind of covers two of the big ones.
Well, that's why you're here.
One of the reasons I got into that dub reggae sound is because I like the ethos of punk music, but I never liked the anti-music element of it, because I'm a musician first and foremost, even though I'm a revolutionary at heart. I think with some of the better dub reggae, especially the old stuff, even the stuff that came out of England around the time punk was starting,
Yep.
it was revolutionary, but it was still enjoyable and danceable and fun, and that's really what I was trying to recreate, I guess.
Yeah.
As opposed to just that noisy punk sound.
Which is like the message behind that noisy punk sound is great, but it's not an aesthetic that lends itself to being invited to the bonfire party on the beach. And that's the kind of vibe I enjoy.
It's not the most accessible sound.
It's not a judgment, that's just, I think more people feel that way than not.
I think we also have some pretty varied influences growing up that also adds to the dynamic of the sound. Like I said, reggae is, prior to playing with these guys, is not something I didn't really sit down and study. The influence that I bring to the sound is definitely not the reggae influence. Yeah.
Well, how would you describe that influence that you bring, Brett?
Animal, maybe, would be the...
And the Muppets.
I mean, I grew up listening to Metallica as one of the first bands that really was a major influence on me, and you know, the Wailers was a big influence on Zulu, and Jimi Hendrix was a big influence on Ocean, for
Prince
instance.
was probably my big influence.
I think we've got such varied musical influences.
Yeah, and taste.
Which is why it all works like that. Because like I said, he loves Metallica. I also had a Metallica phase. So if I hear him going off on some rock stuff, I'll just start going shredding for a little bit. And then after a few minutes, I'm like, alright, this is getting boring. Let's go back to the reggae beat. And then it's just a matter of all listening to what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
We've all kind of taken a turn as well towards some of the more jam and funk kind of bands. That is something that we're also have been working more the festival circuit, so I think that influence is pretty apparent in our newer stuff.
Well, I didn't realize when I moved here that the South was so oriented towards guitar solo music. Because in Ireland, that's really passé. Like, if you spend 10 minutes playing guitar solo, everyone's going to be
Head for the doors.
When you first got here, he wouldn't solo for long.
The last band I played in, I retrained myself to not think like that. To be like in the pocket, pop, that type of guitar player. And then we just found this whole world of southern rock and jam band where people really want you to play guitar for 10 minutes. And that was always my strong suit, so I guess it works in my favor.
Well, one of the things is that you have eloquent solos, but they aren't long.
They feel long for me.
They interweave with the overall milieu of the song. It's not like, okay, let's just turn it over to Oisin for 10 minutes and the rest of the band can wander off and do something else, except the drummer. The drummer always has to be there, which you sometimes see, but that's not what I see. With this band, it's integrated. The solos are really integrated into the music.
Well, the thing that happens when me and Oisin played, and this is, I think, was like something that me and him discovered initially, is that when we're playing, we're responding to each other in real time immediately. It's like this conversation happening. When he's soloing, I'm listening to what he's doing, and if he hits this one thing, I think without thinking about it, I respond to it. And then we'll both realize, hey, that was cool. Do it 3 more times and make it seem like we planned it.
Well, you know, I think because we both have a good love of reggae and African-based music, there's a whole lot of call and response involved in all of that, and as well as there is in church music that I'm sure Red has some influence from. Like, being able to recognize that I'm playing a lick that's leading into the end of the solo so that everybody knows that we're going to the verse after they hear me playing this descending lick.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of our signals are based around musical cues like that.
To respond to your original question, I try and keep it more interesting than just finger wanking for like 10 minutes straight. I find it more interesting if I just mix it up and play different.
It is more interesting. I think that's one of our strong points, but it's also one of our weak points. There has to be structure to things in order for it to work. We all got to be counting at the same time. We all have to know where the other person's head is. But at the same time, sometimes we just say, the hell with it, light the fire and start dancing around it.
But there are some really great sequences in unison. I think it was in Morning Comes, where there's that repeated sequence of almost unison between the guitar and the drums in terms of rhythmic unison. And then it repeats, and then it repeats, and then it goes on. So there's that real organization in that sense too.
That comes from Oshin being a wicked taskmaster and punishing me and missed notes. And so when he tells us what to do, we try to execute it as efficiently as possible. We learn quickly.
I think stuff we work on in the practice room. It can't just be all mad improvised solos, and there has to be some well-defined parts to set people's attention back in. Music's all about tension and release. If it's all tension or all release, it's going to get boring and people are going to lose interest.
You gotta ride it up and down like the way.
You gotta suck them back in and then push them back out.
Yeah, dynamics is definitely a focus of a lot of the songs, is knowing where to go up and down, for sure.
But we get together every week, twice a week, for hours at a time. And we communicate with each other throughout the week, and we might see each other only on the days that we're working, or that one of us got something going on. The thing that's different about Rhett being here, and Oshin was the first one that pointed this out to me in one of our conversations, was that, yeah, Rhett shows up here every 2 days for some music, but he was a close friend to me and Oshin before that. We all have some ideas about what freedom is and what justice is. It's an easy fit. And I think we can maneuver our way through saying all these important things with that tension and release. Because if I drop out playing the guitar, and Oshin's just rocking the bass, just Oshin and Red up rocking the bass, then anything anybody says at that moment is going to be bigger than if they had said it with all of us going at the same time. And I think at this point what's happening is that we're becoming like mind readers again.
You're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
If you enjoy our programming on WRUULP, please support the station with a donation. As an individual, you can give any amount, become a basic station member, or become a serious fan of the station. To check out membership rates and to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Again, to donate to the station, go to www.wruu.org/individual and select to donate monthly or subscribe to an annual membership. Thank you for listening to and supporting WRUULP.
This portion of WRUULP Savannah Soundings programming is made possible by a grant from Sentient Bean, offering fair trade coffee, vegan and vegetarian food, and breakfast all day. Located at 13 East Park Avenue, across the street from the tennis courts at Forsyth Park. Our menu and special events listings can be found at sentientbean.com. You're listening to music local and sustainable, and I'm your host, Dave Lake. Tonight, we are with XuluProphet. That's Zulu Jones, guitar, Oshin Daly, guitar, and Rhett Coleman on percussion. The other marvelous thing about this band is the handing off of, to me, the three elements of the guitar: the rhythm, the lead, and the bass. And there's a constant handing back and forth of those elements between the two of you.
We're covering a lot of ground for two people. We just threw a bunch of pedals together and fangled our way to having enough sounds between us to be able to cover as many sounds as we want for the type of sound we need. People seem to like it, so we just keep doing it.
With regular guitars, you got that true bass line, as if there was a bass guitar somewhere mysteriously floating among the group.
There is. That's called Ghost. Ghost bass.
He's our fourth Beatle.
Ah.
The thing to being friends with these guys before, I've always thought that necessity is the mother of invention. So as rare as drummers are, I think bass players are even rarer in Savannah. So watching these guys go through a few bass players over a couple of years and find this the hell with it, we can do our own bass.
And the good thing about the Ghost is that we don't have to pay him.
Well, keeping this a trio, I think 3 is a really magic number when it comes to organizational things, and because there's a triangle here now, there's balance.
But even with the lack of the bass, there's some songs that I try to be conscious of how much bass drum I'm kicking in to kind of fill that low end, because there are times when they're both doing more guitar work than bass work, and it is a conscious effort to try to fill that spectrum of sound with some of the low end that is not always there.
Yeah, they start putting a mic on the bass drum in the practice room just so that we can just have an accurate assessment of what we're doing.
Yeah.
That.
Even lacking a bass player, except for the Ghost bass player, there's never a lack of rhythmic foundation, and there's never the lack of harmonic foundation.
Well, that comes from the fact that we started on 2 acoustics. Like I said, we're almost both played rhythm most of the time.
Yeah.
So that we're still using the same foundation. We're just, instead of playing the chords, one person's just playing the bass line, and vice versa. We're still covering all the same ground. We're both busy players.
Yeah, we
which
are.
is another reason why it's kind of difficult to find members, because we don't tend to leave a lot of space for them.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of a power trio, though. You can play all you want. Sometimes on a 4-hour gig, the last hour is a little bit ropey. That's what we get the extra money for.
Yeah, man. It's cool though, right? Because you're becoming more conscious and aware of the audience. I think we had this thing of just going balls to the wall, no matter. This is us, no matter what. And that's not always the right thing to do.
I get it. Just depends upon the environment.
Yeah.
We finally worked out a way of approaching every show as a separate entity and picking our set list and the way we're going to play and perform per show, as opposed to just always having the same show, because we noticed we weren't getting invited back to a lot of places we played.
Yeah, but
and that was hurting our pockets. Well, we're still not going to play Wagon Wheel, but we can tailor our sound to be more approachable to
wherever we're at. We're just trying to build people into some of that Caribbean and Latin and reggae sounds. Man, that's a good introduction for people into our sound and what we can do. I think it proves our competence as musicians. And then some powerful songs like Recession Blues. And if you've stayed for the third set, what you're going to get is us just being musicians. And there might be you might get some improvisation. But I think
the fourth set, you'll definitely catch a lot of improvisation.
Yeah, the fourth set. Yeah.
Of course, it really depends on the environment, I guess, too, because When you were at Huckapoo's, Recession Blues came out, one of the lead off of the second set or something like that?
Yeah, it started the second set.
Yeah.
It's an approachable song sonically.
Yeah.
And for a first time at a place, and if people don't like you in the first song, like if you lose them, if you don't get their attention at the first song, they've already disengaged, and chances are we'll look for something else to do if your second song doesn't wow them.
Well, no, there was always the old saying was that the only songs that really matter is the first song and the last song. Yeah. Everyone's going to forget everything in between. So.
You used to say that years ago.
Somebody told me that once. I can't remember where I picked it up, but
Yeah.
it's a saying anyway back in Ireland.
Oh, it makes sense. So putting that early in the set is fine, because if we wanted to later on, we could revisit a dub version of it. Yeah, well, there's other things we could do with it other than the structure that it exists in.
Well, people seem to like it, and a lot of people ask us to play it. Like, even you asked us to play it today. So if people actually do come to see us, they want to hear that song.
Yeah. Well, it makes me happy that people remember our songs and want to hear certain ones. That's humbling, man.
You're listening to Music Local and Sustainable, and I'm your host, Dave Lake. Tonight, we are with XuluProphet. That's Zulu Jones, guitar, Oisin Daly, guitar, and Rhett Coleman on percussion. Particularly if you lead off with often a reggae beat and you get people drawn in and tied in to the music, then they'll pretty much probably do anything with you, and you can take them anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's the idea. You got to suck people in first, get their attention, and then once they've got their attention, you can take them on the ride after that.
Yeah, and you got to make it it's almost like you have to make an agreement with them that you're gonna give them something that's pleasurable to them. Because I know when I'm seeing music or experiencing music and it's giving me something pleasurable, then my reaction to it is positive. And I think the thing that happens between an audience and a live band is that live band is giving their music to the audience, and the audience is giving their love back to the band for the music, and so it just keeps on. That's why those really good shows, like, that just keep the energy just keeps swelling and swelling, is their relationship.
It's a feedback loop.
Yeah, and so I think it may be we're trying to almost like when you first meet somebody, if you want to be favorably disposed to it, if you want to have good interaction, you put your hand out and smile and say, "Nice to meet you, my name is." And so I think that's where we're trying to approach the beginning of our sets from. Hey, we're XuluProphet. We're glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you for giving us your time. We're going to give you something.
There's some motifs that's common in the whole jam band scene too. Grateful Dead probably are the first ones who pushed it, but they'll play something familiar for a while, and next thing you'll get 20 minutes of out there crazy jamming that you don't have no idea what's going on, and then they'll break back into a verse of the song they were singing 20 minutes ago. That's something that we've been picked up along the way playing at a lot of these festivals, and something that suits what we do, because we can start playing a reggae song and then go into our crazy psychedelic jam band stuff for a while,
and then bring it back into the reggae. And that one of the things that happened in the beginning when me and Oisin first hooked up 4 years ago. We said wanted to keep it loose enough to where it had some improvisation. That's what's happening now. We're now settling into this thing that I figured 6 months to a year. But the cool thing about Rhett is down for it. We're trying to get it. All three of us are trying to get it. How far can we take this? Ideally, we would be gone from Savannah 10 to 14 days a month and have the rest of the time to devote to one more music.
Those 10 to 14 days we're paying the bills for the whole month. That'd be the other 15 days in the practice room.
Yeah,
but
that's how you get to that level.
But I think, aside from the fact that we started
we got to take time out to go to the beach.
I think the fact that we started with friends is part of it, but I think another part of it is that we do have the same goals in mind. It makes the working together process easier when everyone's got their eyes on the same goal.
The other thing is, in addition to the music, you have the psychedelic visual experience at a performance, and you have unusual accompaniments to the music such as the Stardust Pixies. And where did that come from? How did that idea come about?
Well, Alfredo Martinez came up with the first artwork for XuluProphet in Savannah, and I woke up the day before Easter with this epiphany that all of this reality was malleable and would exist forever, and it's just like recycled molecules, so time is irrelevant. None of this really matters, so you can have whatever you want. Like, it's all the same source. It's just the dust from stars that have been around long enough to turn into elements. All of this will one day not be. There was a point where it wasn't. There's a point where it'll be again. I asked him to draw some fantasy art of these pixies with bat wings and angel wings. And so we thought one time about, how can we bring this to life while we play? How can we make this picture our reality? If you can have anything you want, then why not be creative and try something? So we met this girl named Ashley, who eventually led us to meeting Jamie. And Jamie Failing took the idea and the concept, and we did some shows together probably for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And she was learning all these like crazy ass new skills like fire spinning, aerial silk performances, and putting on shows and fundraisers and everything. I think that at this point, because both of us, XuluProphet and the Stardust Pixies, have gone out and kind of like built their own thing, and it'll be time to bring that back together for a big show. Maybe we'll do like a benefit or something, and if we could find some maybe educational need for children or something for the kids, because the city's politicians failing the youth. They graduate in high school here and can't read.
Anyway, I think going back to the psychedelic show, is in the neo-psychedelic wave has been kind of quite common with bands like the Flaming Lips, to just, some bands I've seen stuff in stadiums, just that. Because a lot of these bands, 3 people, they're playing on a festival stage just like 100 feet wide, just 50,000 people. They gotta do something to keep things interesting. So
yeah,
like 100 people up there, like just dressed up as clowns or something doing somersaults.
Well, we wanted to have like a circus. We wanted to have the Stardusted Circus, so that when you go to the XuluProphet show and there's somebody 30 feet in the air, I wanted people on stilts. I wanted midgets dressed up as Oompa Loompas and S&M gear, man, fire.
Well, I think something that Zulu's always tried to stress, as much as I don't like it, because I want to be a political revolutionary band, is that we're, for better or for worse, in the entertainment industry, and people want to be entertained. They don't always want to be told what to do or who to vote for. So.
That was some advice I got from a promoter. I'm with him. There's a certain part of me that's like, this is the truth. A song like Land of the Slave comes along, that needs to be told. But at the same time, how do you tell somebody that without them being like, I'm getting out of here?
Zulu always calls it the Roman circus.
Yeah.
I feel like that moment in Gladiator where he cuts off the dude's head like this and he goes,
you're not entertained! Yeah.
That's how we're like at the end of our sets.
Yeah. Yeah. But this in my dialogue, in the story I cook up in my brain, and what happens when we do all that music, man, is that the worst parts of every man's character, man, have a moment to be expunged and purged. So every bit of jealousy, envy, hatred that exists in every human being, when we're playing music, we take those demons out of their cages and beat them. Also, my own life of insanity. And, you can't walk down the street telling people that they're slaves because they don't grow their own food, even though that's the truth. You gotta tell them a different way. You gotta have Oompa Loompas dressed up in S&M gear and girls on stilts, and at the same time you need to have a sign up there that has a fist raised in the air and words revolution tattooed on the wrist. Right? What's that fancy word you use? That polysyllabic word.
Got the juxtaposition.
Yeah, of those two things against each other. Like Oisin, sometimes hates that. It's just glaring and glowering at me the whole time.
Beautiful and the grotesque.
Yeah. Let's have it all. Let's have it all.
I think part of our mythology is ripping open the door to the underworld and seeing what comes out.
Yeah, for sure. Killer of both gods and devils. And then we've got a monk with us.
He's trying to save us.
He's trying to save us from our own damn selves.
Well, no one else was willing to try anymore. So.
And that's more like it.
He's a mercenary missionary.
Well, someone has to bring some Zen.
Is that what you brought with you?
We're just running out fast.
Back to what I said originally, and this may be I'm coming down on Zulu's side, but but the fact that this is the first revolution that you can dance to.
I like that.
And that is a large essence of what this band is.
Well, there's also, it's about the human experience too, right? Because there's some personal music in there mixed up. It ain't all about ideas, man. Like, there's some songs in there.
The whole experience?
Yeah.
Other than Land of the Slave, which is fairly on the nose, most of my lyrics are open to interpretation. But I prefer not to explain them.
Look at those race dicks and rabble rousers.
Part of the essence of your work is getting everyone to explore their own demons.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess that's just the way that it naturally comes out for me. Hopefully it works. Hopefully people ask themselves what they perceive. I think a theme that I come back to a lot is the guilt theme that comes from going through Catholic school, and that's something that seems to be a recurring theme. I don't really do it intentionally, but it's just the way it comes out.
Well, it's part of you.
Yeah.
And when you express those personal views,
Yeah.
that comes out. Tonight we have been with XuluProphet, Zulu Jones, guitar, Oshin Daly, guitar, and Rhett Coleman, percussion. Thank you very much, guys, for inviting me to a rehearsal.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming, yeah.
You always welcome here. Come anytime you want.
This has been another edition of Music Local and Sustainable, and I've been your host, Dave Lake. Save this time for another show next week.
Well, I know we ain't headed for the Hall of Fame. Gonna give it what we got, man, that ain't no shame. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.